I think it's around noontime, I think, is when it became dark for 3. I think it's 3.3 hours, but that's just me. And so that happened, and then the earthquake happened. And when the earthquake happened, it says that the tombs were opened, okay? And then it later says they saw people walking around that had died, right? Now, nobody ever talks about that, but I don't know about you, but if I was in Thomaston, and all of a sudden, I started seeing, like, my husband walking around, and my mom, I would be going, something has definitely happened that has never happened before, okay? And so I was thinking about that. So can you imagine this with me just for a second? Because I believe that absolutely happened, okay? I do believe that. And so can you imagine, maybe you're a farmer, or maybe you're tending to your goats outside and everything, and you're outside of Jerusalem, and it got really dark for 3.3 hours, and the earthquake kind of came, everybody's kind of freaking out, and you're going past, the tomb of Joseph, and you go, that tomb's open. Are there eyes looking at me? Like, what is going on? Because it doesn't say they came out right away. It just said the tombs were open. But then they were seen. Because here's the thing, I don't believe that they could leave that tomb until Jesus left that cross. When he died and it was finished, and when he rose, they were walking. They were walking around because and I believe they were all headed for Jerusalem. They weren't buried right there in Jerusalem. I think everybody that was a pre-saint, besides Enoch and Elijah, this was the day of reckoning. This was what they were all believing for themselves, was the day that he would come and he'd be their Savior. So I can imagine this. I'm out there, I'm tending my goats or grinding my grain, whatever I'm doing, and all of a sudden I see this guy crossing, coming towards me. And I say, hey, where are you headed? Oh, I'm headed for Jerusalem. He's got a staff and he's walking. What's your name? My name's Abraham. Actually got changed. God changed to Abraham. And they're going, oh, really, Abraham? Yeah, where you go? I'm going to Jerusalem. Well, where'd you come from? Well, I used to be from Ur of Chaldees, but then actually been in Hades for a really long time. And was it Abraham? And I'm headed for Jerusalem because it's all happened in Jerusalem. It's all happened in Jerusalem because Jesus was dying in Jerusalem. To me, that is an amazing thing to think that all the patriarchs could have been walking towards Jerusalem from the grave they were in, from somewhere, headed toward Jerusalem because he had risen from the grave. And he took them with him. He went, remember, he went to hell, preached captivity to the captives. He preached it. Then they all sprung loose. Well, the ones that could be. The other ones, not so much. But could you imagine if you lived in that day and time? Grandma, is that you? Yeah, I'm headed for Jerusalem. Got our eyes on the Lord. I'm headed for Jerusalem. Headed for Jerusalem. I don't think we think about sometimes the impact that day, not just for us sitting right here, right now, but a whole civilization that doesn't even talk about the fact that there were dead people walking around. Like, why don't we talk about that? The veil being rent is a good thing. I'm not saying it's not, because that's amazing. We can go boldly before the throne of grace. There's so many things. But the fact that I have loved ones in the grave, you have loved ones in the grave. I have generations in the grave that are I'm going to see again. And we're going to be reunited as we were one before the foundations of the world. Before we ever got here, we're going to be reunited again as we were before. Only with so much more to take on into eternity. I know that you prayed, and I want to say that we have a joke. Because, man likes to call infirmities things. Like diabetes and cancers. They have names for those things. So me and the Lord were having this fun little talk, and I heard him say to me, mankind has another syndrome. It's called bad choice syndrome. It's BCS, bad choice syndrome. So when you were praying, I was laughing with God. I say, he's praying about that bad choice syndrome, isn't he? Which is really just rebellion. And you can make those decisions out of ignorance sometimes, because sometimes you just don't know things. And then there's rebellion. And that's you can have educated choices, you can have ignorant choices, or you have God choices. So there they are. So next time you think about he has risen indeed, it wasn't just him that rose from the grave that day. It was all those that laid down the foundation of our faith was rose and taken to the place where they were meant to be and where we're going. And that's why I believe Henry's having a conversation with Paul. I really do. I believe that, my mom's talking to Sarah, not this one. She'd probably say, I have a granddaughter named Sarah. I believe they're all, because we're getting ready for an eternity that we don't even know what we're going to do. So I just wanted to share that thought to think about today. What would you do if you were driving home and you saw Grandma walking towards Jerusalem?